The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Ichabod Crane was tall and exceedingly lanky. His long arms dangled from narrow shoulders, and his hands hung a mile below his cuff. His twiggy legs ended in feet that could have served for shovels, and his whole frame seemed to loosely cling together. Ichabod served as schoolmaster. He was a strict teacher, but he would help the townsfolk with chores, and he taught singing. One of his singing students was Katrina von Tassel, the daughter of a rich farmer. Katrina was beautiful, blooming, vibrant, and universally famed. Although many women enjoyed spending time with Ichabod, he had eyes for Katrina alone. Unfortunately, there were many rivals for Katrina's affections. The biggest and strongest was Brom Bones. When he began to court Katrina, all of the other men were scared off, except Ichabod. Now, Ichabod could never fight Brom. Instead, he sought to win Katrina through singing lessons and sweetness, while Brom played dirty by teasing Ichabod and trashing the schoolhouse. When Katrina did not choose between the two, the rivalry grew worse. Then came the Van Tassel Halloween party. Ichabod was excited for the party. He rode his horse Gunpowder to the Van Tassel home and arrived as the music began to play. He thought he danced as well as he sang, but he was a clumsy man. Still, Ichabod and Katrina had too much fun dancing to care. Brom watched and grew jealous. Later in the evening, guests told stories around the fire. Like most townsfolk, Ichabod was superstitious, but still loved a spooky story. Everyone enjoyed telling stories of ghosts, goblins, haunted places, and witchcraft. They did, after all, have their own local legend. Stories told that the area around town was filled with many spirits, but the scariest of these was the Galloping Hessian. He was said to be the ghost of a mercenary who had fought in the American Revolution. A cannon had taken off his head, and he would ride from the graveyard to the battlefield in search of it, and thus became the legend of the Headless Horseman. On his turn, Ichabod told tales of witchcraft, while others talked of actually seeing the Headless Horseman. Despite his love of scary stories, by the safety of a cozy fire, Ichabod was a coward. Brom saw his fear and got an idea. It was dark out when the guests left the party. Ichabod rode out into the black woods. His ride home was less pleasant than the ride to the party. Without the safety of the fire, the stories of ghosts were less fun. Every bush was a ghost, every tree a goblin. He began to whistle to calm his nerves, when suddenly he noticed a dark shape lurking behind. The shape began to move. The shape was headless, the Headless Horseman, with his grinning skull tucked beneath his arm. Ichabod began to race, but the horseman was right behind him. Gunpowder could not outgallop the horseman. Soon Ichabod was almost at the church bridge, where he thought he'd be safe. He looked back. He saw the rider rise up and throw his head. The next day, there was no sign of Ichabod Crane. All they found was his horse in the woods, beside a smashed pumpkin. Whenever someone tells the story of Ichabod and the pumpkin, Brom Bones smiles to himself and laughs.